Guys, welcome to the Runtime Error, the place where programming begins. In this video, we have brought the C programming technical interview questions. This video will be helpful for all the companies like TCS, Infosys, Wipro and Capgemini. So don't miss this video and watch this video till the end so that you can come across what question is asked and how it is asked. We are going to move from easy level and then we will go to the medium and then we will go to hard level questions. Same time I'm going to explain you its explanation as well as the answer part. So don't miss even a single question since it will help you to revise your concept and know the things in depth clarity. So what we are going to cover in this video? So we are going to cover the topics like string, pointers, dynamic memory allocations, recursion, typecasting, structure and some small subtopics. So this video is really going to be helpful if you are preparing to the service sector interview questions. So if you are new to this channel, I highly recommend you to subscribe the Runtime Error so that you will come across all the interview related stuff in a single channel. So without any further delay, let's start the video. So the first question is, what do you mean by C language? So before seeing the actual answer, can you write the answer inside the comment section? What do you mean by C according to your knowledge? So let's check the actual answer. So actual answer says that C is a middle level and procedural programming language. Now the question comes, what do you mean by middle level language and what do you mean by procedural programming language? As of now, I'm not going to explain you what do you mean by middle level language because we are going to see this in next question. But as of now, we will see what do you mean by procedural programming language. So I will tell you in normal language that procedural programming language is nothing but it mainly tells us what to do and how to do it. This is in terms of normal language. But when you want to tell you in technical language how to answer this question, what do you mean by procedural language? So procedural programming language is nothing but it is a structured programming language. So basically what we do is a large program is mainly divided into the smaller problems, right? Say for example, I have to write the code of 1000 lines. So what we basically do is we divide it into the smaller parts. And those smaller part we call it as a functions, and this is basically what we do. So I hope so you understood what do you mean by procedural programming language, right? Now we will check what do you mean by middle level language. So why C is called as a middle level programming language? So let's check the actual answer. So middle level language C is called, the reason behind this is because it binds the low level and high level programming language together. So what do I mean is, say for example, this is my C language, right? This is what I called as C language. So what does C language do is, it binds the low level and high level language together. This is bounded together. And what happened is, with the help of this low level language, we are able to develop the system application. System application especially used for development of operating system. Reason why? Because we need a faster interaction. And it is also used for the higher level, that is nothing but the application development. Now if you use the C in terms of application, for what purpose it is widely used? It is widely used for gaming purpose. Why C is used widely in gaming purpose? Because once I press the button, the action should take place. And C is really close to the machine level language. That is the reason why it is used in gaming language as well. And this is the reason why C is called as a middle level language. Reason why? Because it bounds a low level as well as a high level language. Sorry, it is called as a high level. So high level language are bound together. If you see now over here, C is called as a middle level language because it binds low level as well as the high level programming language. And with the help of low level, you are able to develop the system programming, to develop operating systems. And with the help of high level, you are able to develop the application programming, for example, for gaming purpose. So I hope so you are clear with now both the things, why the C is called as a middle level language and why the C is called as a procedural programming language. Now let's check the third question. What do you mean by a variable? So often answering this question, people tell variable is nothing but it is a container which holds the value. This answer is correct, but technically it doesn't sound good. So how does to answer this question in technical fashion? So in terms of technical, variable is nothing but it is a name given to a memory location. So why it is called as a name given to memory location? Say for example, this blue color box is what we call as memory. It is my memory. Say for example, main memory. And I have declared the variable called as a num and which has the value 10. So how does this will look like in my main memory? So first of all, I declare the variable called num, and I have assigned this value to is 10, and it contains the address, say for example 5000. This is the random address I have given. Now what happen is, to this address 5000 I have given a name called as a num. That is what the variable says. It is a name given to my memory location. My memory location is my 5000 and name given to it is called as num. And that is the reason why in technical terms we often call it variable as a name given to my memory location. So I hope so you are clear with this question. So let's move to the next question. What is the difference between local variable and global variable in C? So I have written the two statements, declared outside all the function and declared inside all the function. Now can you tell me, if a variable is declared outside all the function, then which variable is treated? And if you declare the variable inside the function, what variable it is called? Can you tell me in the comment section? So let's check. These are the two code snippets I have written. So let's move on to our editorial part so that we can explain this in more detail. So I have these two code snippet. On the left side I have the local and on the right side I have the global. Now let's check clearly that in the local I have declared the variable answer inside the function called as a sum. But if you see on the right side, I have declared the variables answer outside all the function. Basically there are two functions, 1 and 2, and I have written this answer variable outside both the functions. But here I have written this answer inside the function sum. So what will happen is, let's check one by one. I will take you to point one by one. So the first point for my local variable is, the scope of variable is available within the function in which they are declared. What does it mean is, see, answer is declared inside the sum function. So the scope of this answer is only within this function. The moment my control statement comes out of this function, this answer variable no longer exists. And this is the reason why we cannot access this answer variable outside this sum function. But if you go on terms of global variable, it is written that the scope of variable is available throughout the program. Now what does it mean is, often see that global variable is declared outside all the function. Now say for example my control statement comes out of this function, then can we say that this answer variable is destroyed? No, this function is destroyed, but my answer variable is still there. And that is the reason why I am able to access this answer variable inside the main function as well. Say for example, if I write over here, that is answer equals to 10, and if I print answer, what will happen? My output will be 10. My output will be 10 because I am able to access this answer variable inside the main function as well, since it is written outside all the function. Therefore here I have declared this answer variable outside anywhere. Downside, I can access this answer variable anywhere in my program. Right, I hope so the first point is clear. Second point says that the life of variable is created when the function block is entered and destroyed on its exit. What does it mean is, say for example my control statement is present over here. Now I came inside this sum function. The moment I come inside the sum function, this variable get activated inside my main memory. Say for example, this is my main memory and this is answer and this is get activated. But the moment I come outside this function, the moment I come across this function, this answer variable no longer exists, which means it get destroyed. But when it comes to the global, what happen is, even if you come out of this function, this answer variable still present. And this is what I have wrote. The life of a variable exists until the program is executing. Even if we come across the outside this function, I can access over here. Say for example, I have one more function over here. Inside this function, even I can access this answer variable. Right, I hope so. Second point is also clear. And third point says that variable can be accessed only within the statements or the function in which it is declared. It can be accessed throughout the program. I have explained this answer as well. So I hope so you are clear with what is the difference between local variable and the global variable. So let's move to our next question. So next question says that what is the difference between call by value and call by reference? So this is my call by reference and this is my call by value. So what is the difference in between both of these two? Just observe this, both the code snippets clearly, how I pass the variable to my function called as sum. Here if you check, I have passed the address, but here if you check, I have passed a normal variable. So how does it look like? Let's check. Now these are the two code snippets. So what will happen over is, So first of all, I will be explaining call by reference. So what happened inside my main memory is, say for example, this is my main function, right? This is my main function. And inside this main function, I have the two variable called as num1 and I have the num2. And what is happening is, say for example, its value is 10 and its value is 30. Now say for example, the address of num1 is 300 and the address of num2 is 400. So this is the random address I have took. Now what I'm doing is, I'm calling the function called as a sum. I'm calling the function called as a sum. So what will happen is, one more block is created, right? This is called as a sum. Now what will happen is, see, I have got num1 and num2, but at the same time I'm not passing the values of that function, I'm passing the address. So what will happen is, we got the two blocks. This is called as a num1 and this is called as a num2, and inside this I have the address 300 and 400. But the point is, whose address are these? 300 is the address of whom? So it is the address of this variable, so simply it will point to this, and 400 is the address of this num2, it will point to this. And do remember that, see, if you observe this clearly, I have used the star. What I'm doing is, I'm dereferencing it, which means since n1 inside my sum is holding the address of num1, so first of all I will go down over here. Now using the star mark, I'm able to move from this position to inside this num1. So whatever the changes are taking place in my original variable called as num1, because I'm dealing with the address and then I'm trying to dereference it in order to go inside that variable. So what I'm doing is, I'm simply doing this swap over here. So what will happen is, it will simply change this value, that is from 10, so this is from 10 it will become as 30, and from 30 it will become as 10, which means, can I say that the changes are taking place in my original variable, that is num1 and num2 are changed to 10 and 30, right? 10 and 30. Sorry, this is, just ignore this because this is wrong. So here I have 10, it is 30, and here I will mark as 10, right? So I hope so you got me. This is the call by reference. What we are doing is, we are passing the address. If you check ampersand is used, we are passing the address. Now we will check what do you mean by call by value. So what happens in call by value? See, so again what I'm doing is, I'm simply drawing the stack. Inside the stack, what I have is, I have the main, and inside this main function I have the two variables called as num1 and num2. I'm writing n1 and n2 just for the simplification purpose. What is happening is, for num1 the value is 10 and for num2 the value is 30, and I'm calling the function called as sum. See, I'm calling it a sum, so sum is called. And now what I'm doing is, I'm passing normal variables. See, num1 and num2, I'm passing normal variable. So when the normal variable is passed, what happen is, duplicate variables are created, which means inside the num it will create n1 and n2 as well, and it will contain this value. So it contains 10 and it contains 30. Now since we are doing the swap, so what will happen is, so it will convert to 30 and this will convert to 10. But what happens is, the moment we come out of this block, or the function, this get destroyed, right? This no longer exists. So let me erase this so that there will be no any confusion. So this got erased, but if you see, my original value is not changed, and that is the reason why in call by value, whatever the changes you are doing in formal, that is in formal arguments, will not reflect my actual arguments. The reason behind this is because a copy, that is duplicate copy of the variable is created. But in call by reference, what we are doing is, we are dealing with address. See, 300 and 400, you are not storing the values of num1, num2, rather you are storing the address, and then with the help of the star mark, you are dereferencing and going inside to make changes. So I hope so you understood the difference between call by reference and call by value. So if you check over here, a copy of a value is passed to the function, then the original value is not modified. This is what we learned, right? That is, whatever the changes you made in formal argument will not reflect my original argument. But in call by reference, we are passing the address, and that is the reason why when the copy of value is passed to function, original value is modified. Why? Because you are passing the addresses 300 and 400. Actual arguments and formal arguments are created in separate memory stack. Yes, this is what we saw. Actually I erased, right? Here I erased, that is first n1 and n2, and when I come out, this memory got deleted, which means this is a separate memory and this is a separate memory. But if we see in terms of reference, both are created in the same memory because you are passing the address of this variable. And the last point is the copy of actual arguments are passed to the formal arguments, and that is the reason why I said different copies created. But here addresses of actual argument are passed, right? That is what we did. What we did is we simply passed the address, that is 300 and 400, to num1 and num2. So I hope so you cleared with what is the difference between call by value and call by reference. Let's check what is the next question, that is what do you mean by recursion. So this is the most common question, right? And even most of the people know it. So what do you mean by recursion? So recursion is nothing but when a function call itself, it is called as recursion, and the function which call itself is called recursive function. So let's check in more diagrammatic fashion. So we know that recursion contains two things. First one is base case and second one is called as recursive case. Now if you check over here, when num is equal to 0 or num is equal to 1, we simply return num. Or what does it mean is? So simply it is nothing but it's a base case. Now the question comes, why do we need a base case for the recursion? The reason for this, so that we can stop somewhere. Otherwise what will happen is my stack will get overflow. If you see here diagrammatic fashion, say for example, this is my stack, this is my stack. I have called the function, say for example fun, again I called, again I called, again I called, again I called. So the point is, when should I stop? When should I stop? If you don't stop, what will happen? It will happen stack overflow. What will happen? Stack overflow. So in order to avoid this, what we need is, we need a base case. So I hope so. Why do we need a base case? And second one is called as a recursive case. So recursive case, what do we say is, the function which call itself is known as recursive function. If you see, factorial is my function and this function is calling this factorial function once again. Therefore, this is my called as recursive function. So I hope so you got me. What do you mean by recursion? The function when it call itself is called as recursion. The function which call itself is called as a recursive function. So I hope so you are clear with this. The next question is, what do you mean by pointers in C? It is the most commonly asked question and it is the most important topics. If you are preparing for C and C++, pointers plays a crucial role. So pointer is a special variable which is capable of storing the address of other variable of a same data type. It is really important to mention a same data type, right? So what is its syntax? So say for example, I have declared the variable called num and I have declared the pointer called as ptr, and what I'm doing is I'm storing the address of num inside my ptr. Observe this carefully. The data type of num is integer and the data type of this pointer is integer itself, and that is the reason why we're able to store the address of num inside my pointer, right? So how does it look like? This is my data type and star ptr. This is the syntax to declare the pointer. Here I am storing the address of integer. That is the reason why I'm used int in front of my pointer, right? So how does it look like? So ptr is my pointer, num is my variable, and this is the pointer and this is my num, right? Inside the pointer I have 1000. So what does it eat? It is the address of my num. It is my address of num. See, I have designed this in more pictorial way so that you can come across in-depth clarity. So num, it has value called as 10, whose address is 1000, and what I did is, inside my pointer I have stored the address of num, that is 1000, and that is the reason why my pointer is pointing to the num variable. Why? Because 1000 is the address of my num, right? I hope so. What do you mean by pointer? It is a special variable which is capable to store the address of other variable of same data type. It is really important to mention same data type. So we'll move to the next question, that is explain the types of pointers. So in C, basically there are 4 types of pointer. First one is called as void pointer, second one is called as null pointer, third one is called as dangling pointer, and fourth one is called as a wild pointer. Now we will check one by one in detail what do you mean by void pointer, null pointer, dangling pointer, and wild pointer. So let's check one by one in detail. So first one is called as void pointer. So what do you mean by void pointer? A pointer which is capable of storing address of any data type. In actual definition, we saw that it is able to store address of same data type. But here I am saying that it is storing the address of any other data type. So let's observe this carefully. First, I have declared the variable called as num. Inside I have declared the variable character. right? Character, here it is integer, here it is character, and I have declared the void pointer. Look at the syntax. I have used the keyword called as void and the name of my pointer variable. And first, ptr is able to store the address of integer. See, num is my integer, and later it is able to store the address of a character. That is the beauty of void pointer, that is able to store the address of any data type. But if you see the actual normal pointer, it is capable of storing the address of same data type, but void pointer stores the address of any other data type. So I hope so you got the meaning of void pointer. Now next is null pointer. So what do you mean by null pointer? So null pointer is pointing to null. It means it is not pointing to any memory location. So what I did is, first I declared the variable num, which has the value 10, and then I declared the pointer of same data type. Look at carefully, data type of num is integer, data type of ptr is also integer, and what I did is I stored the address of num inside my ptr, that is the 1000 is stored inside my ptr. And later what I did is, ptr is pointing to null, which means first my pointer was pointing to num variable, but now my pointer is not pointing to num variable, even it is not pointing to anywhere. That is what we call as a null pointer, pointer pointing to null, but that is not any particular address. So I hope so you got what do you mean by null pointer. Now let's check what do you mean by dangling pointer. So dangling pointer is a pointer which is pointing to memory location which is deleted. If you see, if I take this, so what will happen is, if you check over here, so what will happen is, inside the main I have declared the ptr and I will call this function called as a fun. So what will happen is, first num is assigned to 10 and it's returning, what is it happening is returning the num. So let's check what's happening here. So let's check what do you mean by dangling pointer in detail. So what happen is, say I have the two functions, first one is called as fun and second one is called as num, main function. So main function is trying to call the fun. So how does it look like in a main memory? See, this is my stack. Inside my stack I have the main, right? I have the main, and inside my main what I did is I have the ptr, which is able to store the address written by the function called as fun. So this is my, say for example, ptr, which is able to store the address. Now what I'm doing is, with the help of this line I'm moving over here, since this is calling the function called as a fun. So again what will happen is the fun function is called, so here fun is called. So what will happen is, here num is equal to 10 and returning the address, say for example its address is 1000, and what I'm doing is I'm simply returning the address of the num variable. So once I come out of this block, what will happen? This all will be get erased. Which means, does my num variable exist in my program? No way. There is no any variable inside whole program whose name is num. So what will happen is, this will simply get destroyed. And what is returned? What is the returned value by function? Return value is 1000. So inside this ptr it contains 1000. Now the point is, whose address is this? This variable no longer exists once we come out of this function. But the point is, pointer is holding the address 1000. Whose address is this? We don't know. And this is what we call as a dangling pointer, that it stores the address which is deleted. It stores the memory location which is deleted, right? So it contains 1000, but the point is, whose address is this? We don't know. This is called as dangling pointer. And the last one is called as void pointer, the pointer which is not pointing to anything, not even a null. See, I have the ptr, it does not contain anything. Now the question comes, what do you mean by this 5700? This is what we call as a garbage value. Because local variable default value is garbage value. So I hope you understood all the types of pointer, that is called as, first we saw void pointer, then we saw null pointer, then we saw dangling pointer, then we saw wild pointer. So let's move to the next question. So next question is, what is the difference between null pointer and void pointer? This is simple. I have already explained you, so I hope you are able to answer this question. So null pointer is nothing but it is pointing to null, which means it is not pointing to any particular address. This is what I told you in the previous question. And void pointer, what I told you, it is able to store the address of any other data type. So you have to be clear with this question, because I have explained this question twice, in this question and in the previous question as well. So the next question is, explain the memory allocation in C. So basically there are three ways to memory allocate it. This is specifically for dynamic allocation. First one is called calloc, second one is called as malloc, and last one is free, which is mainly used to delete the memory which was allocated previously. So calloc, what does it says? This function allocates memory and initializes the memory block to 0. It returns a block of a memory, which means what happen is, this is say for example calloc. So it allocates a multiple blocks of memory. So this is first block, second block and third block. So it allocates a multiple blocks of memory, and each block is initialized to 0. So each block is initialized to 0 in calloc. But if you go in malloc, what does malloc says that this function reserves the memory area and returns a pointer as void, which means it's void. If you see malloc, what it's doing is it's allocating simply a single block of memory. And here we saw that this calloc is allocating or assigning each block at 0, but in malloc, what is it? Each block is assigned with a garbage value. Each block is assigned with a garbage value. Right, I hope so you got the difference between calloc and malloc. And last we see here free. So what does it free is? This function releases allocated memory, which means whatever the memory we have allocated using calloc and malloc, both can be deleted with the help of free. Both can be deleted with the help of free. So that is the purpose of free, that is to delete the memory which was previously allocated. Right, now let's check in depth. So calloc and malloc, what is the difference? The first one is calloc function allocates multiple block of a memory. So we saw over here is C, we got a multiple block of a memory in calloc, but in malloc, what does it says? It allocates single block of a memory. So here we see for malloc we got only single block of a memory. Then you see it initializes the content of memory to 0, whereas malloc it return garbage value. Right, what is the allocate? Garbage value. And this is what we saw, each block is initialized with 0, whereas malloc single block is allocated with garbage value. And third point is syntax. See how does calloc is created and how does malloc is created. Calloc is created first typecasting, then calloc, and two blocks. See first n. So what do you mean by n? And second one is called element size. So n is nothing but a total number of blocks you wanted, and second one is element size. What is the size of a block? So here the value of n is 3. Why? Because 3 blocks are allocated. And now say for example the size of each block is 4 bytes. So it would be void pointer calloc. So I got 3 and I got size of integer. So this is the syntax. This is the syntax for declaring the calloc. And what will be the syntax for malloc? So let's check. So it's simply what typecast malloc size of my block, because I told you that in malloc we will get a single block of a memory. Here we got a multiple block of memory. That is the reason why I need to mention number of blocks I want. But here I will get one block. I know it. So what will be its syntax? So syntax, this is for calloc, and for malloc it would be, say for example, void pointer malloc, and it will be size of integer. So this is the syntax for declaring the malloc memory allocation. So I hope so you got the difference between calloc and malloc. It is frequently asked question in interview, so don't miss it because it is dynamic memory allocation. So the next question is, what do you mean by typecasting? So typecasting is nothing but it converging of one data type to another data type. If you see, what I did is, first I have declared the integer variable called as n, whose value is 65, and later what I did is I typecasted this n to character. See, this is the character. And what is the syntax? So syntax is nothing but a data type in which you want to convert. This is the data type in which you want to convert. I have converted this integer variable to character and this expression, right? So this is the typecasting in which one data type is converted to other data type. So I hope so you are clear with this question. So the next question is, what do you mean by structure? So structure is nothing but it is user defined data type. We know that it is user defined data type. And what it does, it is allows multiple data types on a single unit. We know that in array, basically what happen is, this is the array. Say for example, this is my array. So what will happen is, in my array, same data type element should be there, that is integer. Say for example, all are my integer. So all are my integer. So what I need is same data type. But when it comes to the structure, what it says that it can store multiple data type. Say for example, I use struct and I call person. So inside this, what I'm doing is I'm declaring the character, I'm declaring the integer, I'm declaring the float. Can I say that inside the single unit called as person, I'm able to declare any data type. But in array, I need all the elements should be of same data type. This is what is saying structure. Structure is user defined data types that allows storing multiple types of data in a single unit, right? This is what we did. Multiple units of data in a single unit, character, integer, float, multiple data type inside the single unit called as a person. It occupies a sum of memory of all the members. Now what is the total sum? What is the total space allocated to this person? See, we know that character inside the C is how much? 1 byte. Integer is of 4 byte. And float is of how much? Say for example 4 byte. So total space is 9 byte of space is allocated. So this is the structure, space is allocated. And the structure member can be accessed only through the structure variable. How? We will check. See, what I did is I have declared the structure called as a person and I have declared two entities, height and age. This S is nothing but it is a variable of structure called as a person. How I declared person and name of my variable. And we know that we can access all the members of person or the structure using the dot operator. See, here I use the dot. Structure variable can be accessed only using the dot operator. Memory allocated to each variable will be different. For height will be different, for the age it will be different. So this was all about the structure and I hope so you are clear with it. And the last question is, what do you mean by string? So we know that string is nothing but it is a collection of characters ending with null pointer. Now the question comes, why do we say a null pointer? Because when you're trying to print any of the string, compiler goes on printing this character by character till it come across the null pointer. And when you come across the null pointer is not printed. So I hope so you got what do you mean by string. So this was all the questions inside the C technical interview question. I hope so you got some of the concept clearly and really well. Just in case if you are new to the runtime era, do hit the subscribe button.